Hello everybody, and welcome to this Spring Equinox reading. This was an interesting inspiration that came to me. I'm always looking for, where do we start with the message when I put up these free readings? And a lot of times it'll be a crystal or a Sabian symbol, or just a general feeling that I get. But I was absolutely drawn to looking at my Mary Oliver Devotions book. I just absolutely love this. I keep this at the ready at my desk, and I just allow it to be an oracle of sorts, and allow the pages to flip open to whatever wants to come forward. And one of my favorite poems by her, called Peonies, was what wanted to pop up. And what I think is so interesting about the peonies, I was doing a little bit of research because I'm not a gardener. However, the peony has become my very favorite flower. I just adore it because there is a certain delicacy to it. And even though a peony plant, according to the research that I did, can bloom for 100 years or more, the actual lifespan of when it blooms is only 7 to 10 days. It reminds me a lot of the Luna moth, which is another favorite of mine. Just the sight of a Luna moth is just gives me this spectacular feeling within, like every wish has been granted kind of a feeling. And I sense that with the peonies too, because it's just this abundance of dripping beauty when they really start to bloom. They start up very tight, and then they slowly open, and they give it all. It's like us when we really give all of ourselves to something. It's like we're really truly living our best life. But there's a certain fragility to that as well, because the petals very soon drop off and the beauty is gone. So you have to really appreciate it in the moment. And the blooming season for peonies is anywhere between late spring and early summer. And so it isn't like we even have them to look forward to later on in the summer, but it's such a beautiful entry into the growing season. Even as I'm not a gardener at all, it's a skill I'm hoping to learn a little bit about as I live here at my parents' beautiful spot. And her peonies are within eyeshot to where I'm standing. They're covered under probably a foot of snow still. But they're just so elegant, and just, I guess what I want to communicate is it's that just complete abandon to openness. It is just an opening of our spirit that I feel they represent, and why we're so drawn to them. And there's just a drippy kind of gorgeousness, a decadence to the flower, even within the scent of it. So before I get to the messages, you're going to choose, at the beginning of the video you saw 3 pictures, and you choose which one of those, or maybe there's more than one, really draws your eye more than the others, okay? I guess on this one, I'm feeling kind of like it's worth it to kind of pick one. I know there's a lot of people that tend to listen to more than one message, but the other thing the feeling I was getting about this reading is simpler is better. It is the freshness of what Spring Equinox that I'm recording this on, what this energy represents. It's very simple, and it's very authentic is what I want to say. And it isn't complexity. Humans are the ones that make things really complicated, and nature is actually, even though it is a complex system, meaning there's many parts to it, it really is quite simple in its rotation, in its cycles, and the interdependency of insects and flowers and vegetables and trees and all of the interconnectedness that happens is very purposeful, but it's very simple. And when one piece of that breaks down, then the rest really can't thrive as they're meant to. And the peony is a beautiful example of this lushness that is it's just so simple, but it is so breathtakingly beautiful, because it's just, again, it's all out. It's just like you opening your arms and letting your heart just radiate out, and you don't even care if some of the beats of your heart, similar to the petals on the flower, if some of those beats are lost to the wind. Maybe nobody hears them. Maybe nobody hears your sentiments. But it is still worth it. You are giving something to the world every time you are like the peony. So I feel like there's a message in, there's certainly specific messages, and I'd really encourage you to hone in on one of the flowers. Keep it simple. Keep it really straightforward, really getting authentic, and not making things too layered up, okay? So I want to first read you the poem, and there's a particular part in the poem that I will highlight at the end. So this is just to give us some context and get that peony energy really flowing, because you know, of course, if there was bloom in late spring, those peonies already, even under a foot or more of snow right now, are doing their work underground. They're going through their process. They're making their way through the soil. They're finding their path. And they will bloom when they are ready, when they have enough sun, when they have enough hydration, and the help of the ants also to help that pollination process. So this is the poem by Mary Oliver called Peonies. This morning the green fists of the peonies are getting ready to break my heart as the sun rises, as the sun strokes them with his old buttery fingers. And they open, pools of lace, white and pink, and all day the black ants climb over them, boring their deep and mysterious holes into the curls, craving the sweet sap, taking it away to their dark underground cities. And all day under the shifty wind, as in a dance to the great wedding, the flowers bend their bright bodies and tip their fragrance to the air and rise, their red stems holding all that dampness and recklessness gladly and lightly. And there it is again, beauty, the brave, the exemplary, blazing open. Do you love this world? Do you cherish your humble and silky life? Do you adore the green grass with its terror beneath? Do you also, hurried, half-dressed, and barefoot into the garden, and softly, and exclaiming of their dearness, fill your arms with the white and pink flowers, with their honeyed heaviness, their lush trembling, their eagerness to be wild and perfect for a moment, before they are nothing forever. And so the piece of this that really wanted to come forward from this peony energy that I'm tapping in with is, and all day under the shifty wind, as in a dance to the great wedding, the flowers bend their bright bodies and tip their fragrance to the air and rise. And that's the message to you, I feel. Before I get to the specific card message, it's about how even though we have shifting winds throughout our lives, it's about now, today, we have the sun, or we have some inspiration. We have something that allows us to grow in every single day. And do we allow, like the peonies do, that fullness of the effort, the passion, the focus, to be able to give all as the peonies do, and bend our bodies with that wind, but to let our fragrance, and that's your energy, that's the way the fragrance can be thought of, allow that fragrance to float into the air. And not only do you rise in that effort, but who knows how many others rise just witnessing it. It's like the beauty of the peonies. I mean, it's just such a sight when you see them and their lushness and their ability, and it's a desire of the plant itself to be able to give all, and that doesn't mean that you put yourself under the bus or something. It's the fact that you're just giving all of your essence. You're just letting it flow out into the air, and you're letting your body, like that big bulb that the flower starts as, to let that sway in the wind, but not be broken by it, and to be pollinated, just as the ants do, which I never understood as a child. But now I have a great appreciation for the role that those little guys play in creating such beauty. It's really, truly quite a tremendous system. And we can think about each other as being pollinators for one another. Even if people rub you the wrong way, there's something to be gained from that makes you whole, that brings you open. Just like a flower at that peak moment when all the leaves are out. All of those beautiful soft petals. So let's get to the messages, okay? Just put this down. So the first image was a light pink, a light pink peony. That's very traditional. Those are the ones that I see most often. Very beautiful, sort of a ballet pink, I call it. And for that, you have the flower therapy deck. And this is Uplift Your Thoughts, the orange lily. And I'll show you the card. And this says, focus your attention on the many blessings that surround you. By doing so, you'll let go of depression, poor self-esteem, and excess weight. And I'm just feeling very much this presence, the presence of the moment. And I know, there's all kinds of talk about this, especially in spiritual circles, about the power of now, and everybody's, so many people, I should say, have read the Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now, but I just keep coming back to, it's simpler than that, you don't have to read I had a hard time getting through that book because there's just too many layers to it for me. And everything I feel from the elementals, and it's very strong here today. Chickadees are chiming in here, right in front of me. It's very simple energy. I just really can't underline that enough. And I think that's what that peony wants to say to you. And I brought up the term ballet pink. That's what I call that color. And that's on purpose that I did that, because they're saying it's like when you're learning to use toe shoes. And not that I ever did. I always wished I had continued ballet, but I was more of a tap girl. So, but I have such respect for that discipline. And it's the fact of, I know that there's a lot involved in the training, but it is a focused effort when you're using those shoes to position, and I don't even know. So those of you who are ballet dancers, I hope I'm not offending you here. But my sense is that you do all of this focused training to be able to get your foot literally into the right position, to be able to use those shoes to the very best of their ability. That's what they're meant to do. And it's this same beautiful, very feminine effect that those toe shoes have. Very soft and elegant, just like the peony. But it takes this focused effort. And even in learning to tie those shoes, there's a certain method to that has to be practiced. And so it becomes very simple. it's like people who have so many passions, and I'm one of those people. You can get splintered very quickly, and the peony message is reminding you, go to that ballet pink. Think about those pink toe shoes, and just having a discipline, particularly as you go into this spring energy, because it really helps to launch you in whatever you're looking to do, whether that's a project or into a relationship, or a hobby of some sort, an area of study, something you're looking to learn. The peonies are saying you want to bring all of it. Remember, it's that opening, just like the flower, and the giving so fully of itself, this peony. In 7 to 10 days, its life cycle is done. So it has to bring its very best, You want to bring your focused effort to whatever you're doing. And I'm feeling like there's a kind of an underlying message there from the peony that's about letting go of the splintering. Certainly I know that's a part of who a lot of us are, and it keeps us very inspired and keeps us going. I know that's how I feel about constantly learning new things, but there is real value in having at least one time in the year where you just focus it in. And this is part of what this uplift your thoughts I'm getting. It's about your satisfaction because you have given your all to it. So to commit, let's say, for the spring season, let's just call it that since we're on the spring equinox today, carefully curate, so carefully select that project or whatever it is for you. But it has to be something that is clearly it brings beauty into your life, because that's what the peony is all about. And you're going to have to give your all. You're going to have to show your heart. And it will be somewhat of a disciplined study. But that doesn't have to mean it's hard or grueling kind of a pace to it. It's more that it brings you such a sense of satisfaction. And that sense of you're giving all of yourself, you're literally like flowing yourself open. And remember, your fragrance is going into the air, as I read in the poem. This is about you sharing with the rest of us. So becoming more disciplined. And that helps you to uplift your thoughts, because then you're not ping-ponging around. Can you see, like, that's hard to get your fragrance into the air if you're boop, 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 you're bouncing around all over the place with your energy, And I get it, because I'm one of those people. So a message like this is actually a little intimidating for me to think about, but I can also understand why it's uplift your thoughts is the bottom line of it, because you're not splitting your thoughts. You're focusing them on something that is truly beautiful to you. And it might be something you know nothing about, like me and ballet toe shoes. I know nothing about that. And I have great respect for it. It's not something I'm going to do. But it's this, there's such a dedication. And I know from dancers, it was the same for me in tap. It's a sense of you have to work your way up to getting to the toe shoes. You certainly don't start out there. You have to wear the little flat ballerina slippers and keep doing your pointed toe and your pliés and your all this and that. And then you work up to that, just like I had to work up to having high-heeled tap shoes. That was a big deal. So it's just the satisfaction. The satisfaction you will feel will be tremendous because you have focused your effort. So choose wisely is what I would say. And it should be based on beauty and be something where you just have to reveal yourself. Don't forget that peony energy of giving it all. you know, this decadent beauty. You have to give of yourself. That's what allows the fragrance to go into the air, which affects countless numbers of people. Okay? All right, the second image was the coral-colored peony, and for that, you have the Secrets from the Mystic Grove deck. Oh, and the black bunny makes his appearance in this card. This is card number 6, Observation, and it says patience, attention, pause, watchful. Observation. I love the black bunny. He's kind of like my guide since I've been here at Pollard's. He's like a magical guide for me. So with the observation and the number 6, that has to do with service, and it also has to do with just a very deep compassion particularly for other people. So being in observation, what I feel the message is from the peony, and that coral color really kind of ties into the sacral chakra, which is right below your belly button. So it's about a driving desire, I feel, that you have in your life, whatever that might be. But it's being able to watch for the signs and to watch for the cues and less talking. Again, the peony energy is very simple. It looks decadent. It is decadent. It's so flowing and wide open and so big when those flowers truly bloom. There's so much potential there. But then those petals very quickly come off the flower. You know, there's a short window of opportunity, and there's something in that message for you that within the spring season, because that's really what we're focused on here, there is a real focus point for you where you really need to watch for the signs, and you have to question, have I been watchful? Do I have, you know, like me with the black bunny, do I have little mates, so to speak? And these could be animals, but they can also be people. They can be books, they can be videos, they could be movies, they could be an interaction with others. It could be anything, you know, that are my guides in this. Because believe it or not, there are earth angels here, and people, these are people who are meant to help guide you along your chosen path. There is no one right path, and it isn't like your spiritual team, you know, in the ethers is saying, oh my gosh, here she goes again, and how's this gonna go, and she should have done this. I don't get a sense of that at all when I work in the intuitive realm. That there's some specific thing that our team, as I would call it, wants us to do. It is about your experience here, and how much joy do you find in that? How much satisfaction do you find in that? And satisfaction looks different to everybody. You know, so you have to, your job is to make the decision about whatever that is that brings you the joy, the satisfaction, all of those things. But then to watch for the signs and the signals and these earth angels. I've had it happen countless times since I've been aware of this, that certain people in my life, and they're just sort of people on the periphery, you know, they're not necessarily people I see every day, and it might not even be anybody I know, but I get the right message at the right time when I'm choosing to listen and be watchful, you know. So it's the reason I bring up the number 6 and the idea of compassion is to truly open your heart like the peony, remember, wide open, giving it all out there. Even with people, I'm going to focus in on people here, but it could be situations too, that again, like the first peony message, I'm getting this sense of rub you the wrong way, of, you know, well, I wouldn't do it like that, or, Who do they think they are? Or, these things that come up inside you. Could those be earth angels for you too? Because they're helping you to define, okay, that isn't what I'm looking for, but what out of that am I seeing that I clearly value, but I'm not seeing it in that situation or that person, that relationship, whatever. Can that be a tool to help you then open more to what it is that you want? That is being watchful, that is observing, and that is kind of taking things and turning them on their head. And these really, earth angels come in all shapes and sizes. You just never know when those kind of messages, and that's what they are, they're like little breadcrumbs along your path that, okay, I hear you loud and clear, says the universe. This is what you want, and so I'm just going to give you some options here. I'm going to sprinkle a few things down. And it might be that somebody, puts a set of words together in a way that really affects you. Have you had that happen? It's amazing when that occurs. It happened to me recently. When somebody it's just the right thing to say, it's just a beautiful sentiment. And you can relate to it on so many levels. And again, a lot of these messages will end up being very simple. So that's a way to really think about, and as you're observing your world, keep that concept of simplicity. That is key to the Peonies message, is the fact that it's a very simple kind of a message, but it can have a profound effect on leading you. And it does feel like a big passion, a desire. That coral color has so much illumination and potential to it. There's a lot of momentum there. So you want to pay attention to that and notice where these earth angels, what are they saying? And again, it comes in all forms. It's not just personal interaction. It can be through reading a book, through reading a poem, through watching a movie, watching a little video on YouTube. I can't even tell you how much I've gained from watching YouTube. It's an endless source for me. And I'm just led to what I need at that moment. So, or to take a book of poetry and do just as I was saying in the intro, to use it like an oracle or anything. People use the Bible that way as well. To just open it to the page. What do I most need to hear right now? For my best and highest good, or what's next on my path? What's that next best step? These are all questions that we all have. But the point is, you never want to stop asking. And you never want to stop observing to see what the answer is, because it will come. But you have to give the openness of the peony, I feel, is in watching for these earth angels, watching for the messages. It's less about doing and talking. The spring is a time to be watchful. The final flower was white in color. So you have the Angel Tarot is your card. And this is the 9 of Air. The card says, expecting the worst, self-fulfilling prophecies, sleepless nights. Okay? And the tarot card for this typically shows a woman sitting up in bed. She's got her hands on her face like she's just worried, clearly. And all the 9 swords are behind her. By her bed, kind of all facing down. She's just imagining, well, what if this sword falls, and what if that happens, and it's all this what if, and I'm feeling the momentum with your message of this constant cycle that keeps renewing itself. What if this happens? And then and trying so hard to cover all your bases. And what I'm feeling from the peonies is you're missing the moment. Because again, the window of opportunity is an important piece of what the peonies have to say. that flower only blooms for 7 to 10 days. And it is extreme when it happens. It is all out, like I said. It is full out. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is, lost in translation. You know what you're looking at is just pure, full out beauty. And so I'm feeling like in the midst of just really think about where you're at right now. And are you in one of these? I call that dirt devil energy. It can take us over. I've had it myself many times because I'm a worrier by design, I guess. It's just the way that I am. And so it's a cycle like a dirt devil that once you get stuck in that, it's really hard to break out. And the peony wants to break you out for something fresh. That's why your flower choice is white. It's coming back to a place of innocence. It's almost coming back, I'm feeling like a baby energy, an infant energy, where an infant can be born into so many different types of situations around this world. But what's guaranteed is the joy that being feels inside of them. That a smile comes when they don't even know what a smile is. That they can cry, to have their needs met. That there's these certain things that are built into us from the beginning. And for some reason, the peony is wanting to remind you of that. That every moment is a new moment. And there's every opportunity to shift into the purity of that white peony that you chose and to drop out of. That is, when you make that choice, you get yourself out of that dirt devil, out of that what if, because that is a program. It runs on its own. That is something that is by design with our human ego, which is part of our equipment. I'm not a person that feels like you need to ditch your ego. I don't talk about that sort of stuff. We have it for a reason. It helps to keep us safe, on this planet, to keep us alive, literally. However, like everything, including when we have an overactive brain that just wants to analyze everything to death, everything, whether you're talking about zodiac signs or drinking alcohol or eating sweet stuff or shopping or sex or you name it, anything can get out of balance. And so too can the ego with this what if dirt devil, and it just wants to keep us safe. So I want you, the peony is asking for you to recognize the innocence of that, to recognize that you're just trying to keep yourself safe, and in that way kind of giving yourself the softness that the peony represents, but also to know you can break that cycle. In any moment, you can decide, enough. I don't want to think about what if, because I just have right now. Again, the 7 to 10 day window of blooming, and I'm not trying to be fatalistic here and be like, oh, like if today were your last day to live, what would you do? That's a great question, I guess, but it also has a lot of density to it too in its energy. So, and the peony just wants you to be open to, but there's so much else I could be focused on besides the what ifs. There's so many other things. And I have to bloom. In the end, as humans, we're all here to bloom in a way. And that looks different for everybody. But it is part of the message. You're here to bloom, and you can't do that if you're stuck in a never-ending cycle. And it works just like a program. It's just... And we get so well trained inside of ourselves to keep wanting to cover the bases. But when we look back at our life, and if you've had the courage enough to take a chance, to try something different, to even have a different type of thought when you're in the middle of something, when everybody else is saying, oh, don't you feel like this, or don't you think this, or isn't this what's happening? It's almost like everybody's right in on the program with you, like all telling you how you should feel, and they're not meaning to bring you down, they're actually meaning to support you. But what is most supportive is not stepping into that program, not caving to what is an easy go-to that we go to far too many times. Instead, letting yourself think fresh new thoughts. Again, that wide open feeling of the peony. You got a little window when something comes up, and I'm feeling like this energy wants you to try this out in real time as things come up in your life. To be like that, I want you to picture that white peony that you chose. It's a new moment. Okay, I've heard this information, or I've gotten this news, or I've read this, or somebody's told me this, or whatever. And it kind of deflates you, and your ego quickly, just by design, this is equipment that we have, it wants to step in and save the day and somehow make you feel better. But to decide, okay, but this is my white peony moment. This is my fresh new moment. And that 7 to 10 day blooming possibility. Like I have a little window here. I've just heard this. Am I going to let the program play itself out? Or am I going to choose something fresh and new that feels right to me? That makes me feel like I don't have to do this. I need to do this. And in that process, my friend, you're letting go. In your energy, when you're like the peony and you give it all out, when that bloom really happens, nothing can hold you back, because you're not crouched inward with your energy, which is a protective measure. There's something here I need to fear, or that I have anxiety about, like the 9 of air points to. Instead, it's an energetic feeling of, nope, I'm all open, because there's a greater possibility involved with what's going on here. And I can promise you that is true. I am a believer that things happen for a reason, including sucky stuff. And especially sucky stuff. And when you remember that you've always got the choice to step out of that program, you've got that white peony moment right in your hand. I just want you to really, I'm feeling like the peony's encouraging you to try it out real time, and to say, nope, I'm not going into that pattern anymore, because I do that and I just feel shut down, and I don't feel like I've got any options. And you always have options. And remember, you're here to bloom. You're here to let that fragrance into the air. And who knows how many others you can help in that process. It is an interconnected system, just like nature. Okay, everybody, there are your messages from the peonies. I hope you enjoyed that. I surely can't wait until we're seeing those blooms. I will be sure to take some pictures of my mother's beautiful flowers when they come up here, and remind us all of this message today. And we have this peony moment anytime that we choose, just giving it all out there. We work towards that blooming process, and then we let it all out in that 7 to 10 day period. And we know that we've given it all. We know we've brought our best. Have a good week.